I'm Ken Fjord. Last year, I wrote a book for my son entitled The Graysonian Ethic, Lessons for My Unborn Son, in the months before he was born. Once he was born, I published the book on Amazon. He's now a happy bouncing baby, and I've decided to release the audiobook version for free on YouTube. Success. It is really easy to make excuses for your life. An entire cottage industry of people whose sole job is to come up with the next excuse as to why you have not achieved your dreams has popped up. People who will make millions never working an honest day in their lives explaining to others why all their problems belong to somebody else. Alongside those people are a completely different batch who are trying to tell you why you can never possibly achieve your dreams, unless you just tear down all of society and give them all the power. It really does not matter which team they claim to play for. They are selling a learned helplessness to you, and the price is your life and your freedom. It is a simple thing to do. These people claim that all you have to do is hand over your lives to them, and to magically all your dreams will come true. The thing is, time and time again it is proven to be a lie. Hundreds of millions of dead people under communism are proof of that. The unthinkable suffering of the dictatorships throughout the African continent are proof in another light. Ultimately, the only person who can really be responsible for your success is you. Instead of wallowing in all the reasons that you cannot succeed, you really need to start thinking about the ways that you can. I'm not talking about some imaginary fancy. I have seen way too many people get caught up in some absolutely ridiculous fantasy. People who watch too many television shows get this idea in their head that all they need to do is hatch this dramatic plan, and they can change the world in one night. And the more dramatic the plan, the less work they have to put into it. I have also seen people counting on events that are entirely outside of their control, and usually extremely unlikely to happen. One of the best examples was when I was teaching guys to meet women. It was almost like clockwork. Every one of them had this girl who they thought they just needed to figure out the magic spell to seduce them, and then their girl problems were going to be over. In reality, not one of those girls was interested in one of those guys, because it was a fantasy. There is nothing wrong with having fantasies now and again, but do not mistake them for a plan to live your life. If a girl likes you, you are probably going to know, and you are probably not going to have to come up with some fanciful plan to seduce her. Chase an imaginary fantasy too long, and you will find you have spent your best years dreaming instead of making your life happen. Outside the realm of romance, I have seen people do it in terms of their profession. The fact of the matter is, building your profession takes time, patience, dedication, and hard work. It takes 20 years to build a 20-year career. You need to show up every day and give it your best and make people trust you. The more people trust you and trust that you are going to get the job done, the more people are going to want to give you the chance to prove that you can get the job done. You are not going to get some dream job out of nowhere putting absolutely no work in on your own, because dream jobs are highly sought after. The way to actually achieve your dreams is definitely to start with a plan, but that plan has to be malleable. Start off with a series of events that are smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. It is okay to dream big, but you do not dream big by starting big. You start small and bite off achievable chunks of your goal little by little. You can achieve unreasonable results through reasonable methods by just keeping your eye on the roadmap that you set for yourself. It takes a focus on short-term tactics and long-term strategy combined to get to where you need to be. It is a famous saying that necessity is the mother of invention. If that is true, opportunity is the father. Anything that we can accomplish really starts with opportunity. Many different people and companies came up with different personal computers in the late 70s. But the reason that personal computers became possible at that point was the opportunity provided by large-scale semiconductors. A lot of people hear about the hard work in inventing the car, but few people reflect on the fact that the only reason you could invent a car at that point was because the internal combustion engine and various industrial processes that were already being defined. It was the confluence of necessity and opportunity that made these things possible. This fact cuts both ways. It means that in your life you are likely to get opportunities that other people will not get. But it also means that you are certain to not get opportunities that others did get. A lot of people talk about Bill Gates hanging out in his basement working on computers. Not so many people talk about his rich parents getting him into private schools to work on computers, or the fact that his big break happened to be because his mom knew the vice president at IBM who was developing the personal computer. Everybody talks about Jeff Bezos, but not a lot of people talk about the fact that he was already a high-powered business executive working for an investment firm when he started Amazon. That is not to say that you should not work hard to achieve great things. It is to say, do not try to measure yourself against someone else, because you do not know what type of opportunities they have had. I talked a lot about opportunities as if they are monolithic, but opportunities usually need to be unlocked by reaching a number of conditions. You can live in a land of opportunities and be totally locked out if you take actions that block you off from those opportunities. When I graduated from college, I heard, oh, the baby boomers are retiring soon. There is going to be so many jobs, and some years later that is true. However, even though there are lots of potential opportunities, there are lots of people my age who spent those years not doing anything in particular, who never got the education, never got the horrible initial jobs, never put that work in, and even though there are great jobs, There is nobody to fill them. The world right now makes you believe you need to ask permission to do anything. You do not need to ask permission for a lot. When I was younger, I had a bad relationship with a woman who was controlling because she was afraid of losing me. Part of healing from that relationship was taking my power back, and one of the forms that took was messing with my vehicle. I tore out the carpeting, replaced the headboard with fabric-wrapped styrofoam, and redid the dashboard. I repaired some of the holes by riveting sheet metal over those parts. Then I bought a bunch of flat black spray paint and painted the whole thing. I did not ask permission, I just did it. You know what happened as a result of that? Not much. My truck looked like crap, but I drove it like that until I sold it to buy a new car later. It was not a big deal. Seeing that I could accomplish something without asking permission or having to beg forgiveness was a key moment in my life. It helped me realize that the key to not being stepped on is stand up, and they cannot do that to us. Taking your own power often requires taking action and doing it without prompting. You have to keep your eyes open for opportunities and take them before anyone else notices. You have to act independently based on your own knowledge, because there usually is not a person with a bell to tell you when opportunity has presented itself. The mindset of a free man is a difficult one to get into. To be the one in charge of your life instead of waiting to be told how to live. It means you should be constantly reading and watching and learning and trying to figure out what you can do and what you want to do. As I have already mentioned, a lot of people want to give up their freedom to sell it to someone in exchange for being told what to do. If that was a recipe for success, then all the people who do what they are told would be rich and powerful. But that is not the case. Individuals who succeed the most need to forge their own path. At some point I'm going to talk about economics in depth. But one of the core tenets of economics is supply and demand. If everybody is doing a certain thing, then there is unlimited supply or unlimited demand. So if you are part of that everybody, being part of unlimited supply means that you really are not that valuable, and being part of unlimited demand means that you are vying for, along with almost everybody, a limited supply of something. One of the most important keys to succeeding in life is trying to find discrepancies in value. If you find something that nobody wants to do, but you do not find that bad to do, there is a good chance you can make a good profit being part of a limited supply. If you find something that nobody wants, but you think that it is valuable, then there is a good chance that you can make a good profit owning a limited supply when the rest of the world comes around to realizing the value of what you own. It is something you should always be doing, because it does not matter what economic system you live under. It will always be easier to get your hands on something nobody wants. And it will always be easier to do something nobody else wants to do. Properly keeping your eyes open, these are your opportunities. Likewise, by the time everyone is doing something, it is usually too late to get much value out of it. There is a concept called greater fool theory. The greater fool theory states that the price of an asset is determined by whether you can sell it for a higher price at a later point in time. On assets where the theory applies, it is implied that the asset's intrinsic value is less important than the increase in demand. However irrational it might be, the person buying the overpriced asset later, for a higher price, is deemed the greater fool. The problem is that eventually you run out of greater fools, and if you are the last one holding the bag, you will have to lose money. The way to get the most value out of an opportunity like that is to be the first one holding the asset, before anyone realizes it is valuable. In this way, a free man has the power to get into something before anyone else, get out before it becomes mundane, and make their profit thereby. One thing that is not captured well by this description is a key part of decision-making: risk. My generation is the most risk-averse generation in history. They have been taught to only do the things that are absolutely going to be correct. They have been taught that they are in constant danger. They have been taught that the world is ending right now and they are all going to die. Frankly, it is nothing but a doomsday cult. People worshipping their own death and the destruction of the planet. In a twisted way, that risk aversion has led people to make ridiculous, absurd risks. Instead of doing small things, they insist that everything they do needs to either save the world or destroy it. It would shock you the number of times I have heard this throughout my life. And it is absurd. The world is not going to end in your lifetime, and there is no way to save the world. Quit thinking you are the center of the universe. You are a tiny piece of the world, a single individual trying to make your way through and to find a sliver of success that you can be proud of that can also sustain you. Understanding that, we need to take calculated risks. You will not save the world, you won't destroy the world. At best you are going to be able to make your life a little better or a little worse. If you make a really smart decision or a really stupid one, maybe you will become rich or die. No matter what, give it a few years and nobody will remember what you did that time other than you. If you make a bunch of calculated risks and on the balance, you come out better off, then you will over time get better and better. If over time you do not take any risks, then you won't ever come out better off. Entropy will set in and you will slowly decline into having nothing. So how do you succeed at taking calculated risks? The most important thing is to keep learning. The key to learning is not to uncritically listen to whatever anyone has to say. It is to try to cut through to learn truth. Often people who are experts will tell you many true things but distort reality once you are talking about something that benefits them. I like to call this process of looking at what people tell you to separate truth from self-serving lie or half-truth a sanity check. The world's knowledge usually fits together in coherent ways. You will find that things that fail the sanity check seem not to fit together with other facts. If 5 unrelated pieces of information tell the same story, then it is more likely that the story is true than if nothing else seems to back it up. To sum up, you can succeed. People will tell you that it is impossible. Opportunity is the father of invention. Opportunity is something you must help build for yourself, and it is inherently personal. Find your own path, take calculated risks, and to do that, always keep learning. Thanks for listening to this chapter of the Graysonian Ethic, Lessons for My Unborn Son. If you like the book and would like a physical copy or an electronic copy, please look it up. It's available on Amazon around the world. Barring that, please like and share with others. I'll be releasing one chapter every week, so if it hasn't been completely released. If you're interested in hearing more, you can subscribe to see when I post additional chapters.